I'm Ellis Martin, and this is Money Talk Radio. Join me now for a conversation with Terry Lynch, CEO of Polymetallic, which trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol PNPN, and in the U.S. on the OTC as PNPNF. Polymetallic is a Canadian junior exploration company focusing on developing the high-grade Nisk Project. The Nisk Project is Polymetallic's flagship project located near Newswire, Quebec, Canada. It represents a significant discovery of high-grade battery metals and critical minerals in one of the safest and most supportive mining jurisdictions in the world. Nisk has the potential to be a polymetallic supergiant like Russia's Norilsk, with high grades of copper, nickel, platinum, palladium, cobalt, gold, and silver. The benefits of the project being located in Quebec province are generous tax credits that cover 50% of exploration costs, a Hydro-Quebec substation across the road supplying low-carbon, inexpensive hydropower, and again, a stable political environment with strong government and First Nation partners. The project is located beside a major highway and nearby town. Furthermore, there is shallow mineral depth. Terry, welcome back to the program. How are you?
Ellis, always great to be here. I'm doing terrific.
Bring us up to date on what's happening with the next polymetallic supergiant, Nisk.
Yeah, good release out. Obviously, some super high intercepts like 6 meters of 12% copper, 16% copper Qs. Crazy numbers, but just shows you how rich the Lion Zone is in its minerals. So that's been great. It also, I think, just as important as the assays extending, growing the resource at Lion was the update we gave on the exploration side of things. We had a number of really great, I would call sniffs in the sort of a little bit east of Lion in the sort of Tiger Zone. And we haven't found the Lion-like deposit we're looking for yet over there, but we certainly got some better indications of where it might be. And we think it's a little bit deeper than we were initially targeting. We call it Tiger Deep, starts around 400 meters or so. And the borehole EM, which has been our most effective drilling technique, identified that for us on a couple of holes that we drilled in an area that suggests that, okay, here it is over here. We can see it pretty clearly. So we're actually drilling that now. One of the reasons why we didn't pursue that earlier, we had some insights that might be there, was that we just didn't have enough land there. And then with the acquisition of the lift package and the hydro lands, we now have the land coverage we needed. So we're drilling what we call Tiger Deep at the moment. And the other one we're drilling is we're extending hole 64, which was a 1,000-meter hole that we had done to be parallel the Lion structure to look back at Lion. At the bottom of that, we had our biggest anomaly ever. And again, too close to the hydro lands, too close to the lift lands that we didn't control at the time, so we didn't pursue it. But now, of course, now that we have that land, we're back in there and we're extending that hole and hopefully into this great target that we've got. I think associated with our press release, we recorded a technical update with Steve Beresford and Joe Campbell, just reviewing our program over the summer, what we accomplished there on the land acquisition side, and then also the really amazing AAA targets we've got this fall and winter to follow up on now that we've got all the land we need. Probably the most critical piece was the hydro lands. Lion was pretty much discovered on the border of what we call the hydro lands. So we had a chunk of it, but we felt probably at least half of it was out there in the hydro lands, and we didn't have it. We've been after it for about 14 months or so. And with the help of the James Bay Cree, we've been finally able to work through the bureaucracy of hydro. They were very good to cooperate with us. And then through the Quebec government. And then eventually now we've staked it and it's our grounds. We'll be drilling on that this winter, and it'll be a exciting time for us. So we're pretty stoked about how things are going. And of course, the commodities are still doing great for us. Since we did our financing in last February, our commodities across the board are up over 30%. Stocks flattened down a little bit. Just, I don't know why, just whatever, vagaries of the market. But I suspect we typically have a great fall push and winter push, and I think that's coming for us.
It's almost been a bit parabolic with the commodities anyway, so a pullback with the equities is expected. It's not a dramatic one anyway, and it's also an opportunity, if you're not a shareholder, to perhaps take a look at the company.
Like Robert Freeland, Rob McEwen, and all these great mining funds. And I think we're, 125, 130 or something like that right now. And we've added 600% more land. Commodities are up 30%. Presidents are talking critical mineral deals routinely. It doesn't get much better. So it's a hell of a time to be looking at the mineral sector overall, I believe, and a great time to be looking at Polymetallic.
So the drilling season, Terry, is year-round there, is it?
So it's basically year-round, but we do take a break in May for what we call goose season, respecting our First Nations partners' territorial habits up there. And then they also have a break from September 15th to October 15th called Moose Break. So we call it goose, moose, and turkey. So turkey is Christmas break from mid-December to early January. Goose, moose, and turkey, and otherwise we're good to go.
Terry, I know you picked up lift. How much land have you got now total?
313 kilometers. That's a lot of land. I think what people don't get, and it's because it's early days for our story and it's not widely known. I think obviously when we get listed in the US, I think that'll help the exposure a lot. But I think the people don't understand that these things come in districts. So we've made the first big discovery up there. We won't be the only guy up there. And we spent the biggest part of the summer trying to get as much land as we could. We think this is going to be a massive district, and we know the recipe that worked for us on Lion, and we have applied those recipe principles effectively to select the land packages we did, and hopefully that'll give us the edge in terms of finding what we think will be several mines up in this area.
How do you handle all that land? What's the procedure, as I like to say, for exploring something that large?
So what you do is a number of things. You fly it airborne EM. That's, I would say, a good first step. LiDAR is a good second step. Actually walking the property with geo so they can actually map the outcrops. So you get an understanding of the structural geology you're seeing on the surface. You coordinate that with the maps that are existing or stuff that you know now that we've remapped the area because of our drilling at Lion. Usually you do some geochemical, some sort of chem analysis, and then you got geophysics, you got geochemical, you got geological. That starts to really hone in on what are your targets, and you're looking for these overlaps between all three, and that becomes your priority targets. So right now we identified through our work over the summer 8 of those what we call AAA targets, where they have the geochemical, geological, and geophysical factors that we're looking for. And we control 7 of them. And so we'll be testing them this winter for sure.
I want to clarify something you mentioned earlier. You mentioned getting listed in the U.S. You are listed in the U.S. on the OTC as PNPNF, but you are headed to the New York Stock Exchange. Isn't that right?
That is correct. That is correct. Yeah.
And when do you expect that to happen? And give us a conservative estimate.
Yeah. After the U.S. Thanksgiving, as it turns out, we need a piece of paper from the SEC. Like it's almost like a receipt of filing type thing. It's not a review or blah, 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 but that is not open for business at the moment with the shutdown and stuff. So that's one of the holdups. We're hoping post the U.S. Thanksgiving would be when it would happen.
And of course, this gives your company access to larger brokerage houses, family funds who won't trade on the OTC, but they love the New York Stock Exchange. Am I right?
Yeah, 100%. It's not just in the United States. It's also outside the United States. I was in Hong Kong recently and had a really good reception from a lot of interested Chinese investors, but they just don't like the Canadian listing. They have been beaten up there in the past because of vagaries of the market, but they love New York and love NASDAQ. So I think for us, the global marketplace will be expanding as well. So in addition to getting access to more capital out of the U.S., which is obviously the biggest capital market in the world, and that's why we're down in the U.S. now talking to various high net worth people and family offices and getting them ready to know about the story, know about the listing. But once it gets listed on the U.S., it really helps you globally as well. So I think it'll be a big thing for us. There's been a number of successful Canadian companies go down and their stocks are up 200-300%. So we think that's where we should be targeting based upon what we have already found, and then to say nothing of what we might find.
So I'll say this so you don't have to, because it's going to be a very forward-looking statement. Now might be a good time for investors new to Power Metallic to take a look at the stock prior to the listing on the New York Stock Exchange. There, you don't have to say any of that.
Look, I think you and I both know that this mineral sector is about to rip. I say to people, this first move is because the smart guys in mining have put more money in. They've emptied the pockets. They're all in now. All the money. You talk to every mining guy like you or I, we're not sitting on the sidelines. We're fully committed. And that's what's made this first move. The generalists haven't made this move. Generalists are like scratching their head thinking, hey, did I miss the move? I remind people on like the gold stocks, I'm saying, yeah, Agnico and Newmont have doubled, but their cash flow has tripled. They're actually cheaper now than they ever been. So people forget the commodities have moved so much, and you've got what's happening in gold is obviously gold's ripped, but oil went down. So your major costs went down and your revenue's gone up. The margins of it, when these guys start to report in Q4, I think that's when there could be a really big move in the gold stocks. But yeah, I think it's very early days and people should be looking at their allocations of capital and overcommitting to the mining space. And then within that, we certainly recommend they take a look at companies like Power Metallic, which we think are vastly undervalued and have got great upside. For sure, get in mining.
I've been speaking with Terry Lynch of Power Metallic, which trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol PNPN, and in the U.S. on the OTC as PNPNF. Get the complete story by going to powermetallic.com. Subscribe to Money Talk Radio and the Ellis Martin Report. It's free. Go to ellismartin.com.